tournament. The Mountaineer men's basketball team will play in Kansas City in the Big 12 tournament for the first time on Wednesday. 4 first-round games are tomorrow, including TCU against Colorado. West Virginia will play the winner of that contest. Division II regional will take place at West Liberty coming up beginning on Saturday. West Liberty is the host despite losing to Fairmont State in the Mountain East Conference Championship game on Sunday. You're listening to Metro News, the voice of West Virginia.
West Virginia has found its ideal political leadership in President Trump, Governor Morrisey, Senators Capito and Justice, and Representatives Miller and Moore. Add in our state legislature and members of the Board of Public Works, and together they represent a bright new dawn for our state, one where the coal industry isn't just surviving, but thriving. President Trump has consistently demonstrated his dedication to coal and the hardworking men and women who mine it. Governor Morrisey has long been a stalwart champion of West Virginia's energy sector. The partnership between our state and federal leaders is one of shared priorities and mutual respect for the role coal plays in powering America. With world coal use on the rise and West Virginia's coal desired around the globe, we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to ensure our best years are ahead of us. The West Virginia Coal Association welcomes our political leadership in the White House, Congress, the Governor's Mansion, and State House. We look forward to working with them to make West Virginia the energy capital of America and the world. A message from the Friends of Coal.
WVU women's basketball team in the updated AP poll is number 16 this week. The Mountaineers reached the semifinal round of the Big 12 Conference Tournament, losing to eventual champ TCU. TCU beat Baylor Sunday night. TCU ranked 6th in the new poll. Baylor is ranked 14th. The Division II Women's Regional will take place at Edinburgh starting Friday. And MEC champ Fairmont State, the number 5 seed. From the Metro News Sports Desk, I'm Kyle Wiggs.
ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Monday, March 10th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We got a lot to get into today. Unfortunately, the Thundering Herd will not be competing for the championship, men's or women's. Thundering Herd on Saturday fell short to Arkansas State, 77-74. Thundering Herd coulda, shoulda won that game. Let's just go ahead and say it right now. We can talk about everything that Marshall did wrong. We can talk about everything Marshall did right. But at the end of the day, Marshall coulda, shoulda, and woulda won that game. I think the call on Obina was phantom at best. I think the call against Nate, I'm still shaking my head over that one. But if Marshall could have hit some free throws, we're talking about a different situation. Instead, Arkansas State is playing for a championship. That's coming up tonight. And the Arkansas State women have already won, first time ever winning the Sun Belt Conference Championship, beating James Madison. So the men tonight taking on Troy. Could be a very good day for Arkansas State fans. Already got the women's championship, the men's championship potentially tonight against Troy. And we're actually going to carry that game. We'll have it for you coming up tonight, 6:30. You can listen to it right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the Thundering Herd in that game, but still, we'll have the broadcast for those of you who kind of want to keep an ear on it. So I know. Do you really want to get into what happened with the Thundering Herd? Or is this just a time that you're just going to sit back and go, okay, we need to relax and recover a little bit from this? Good season, a lot of optimism. Team performed better than a lot of people thought it could perform. Finished 5th in the regular season standings, was picked 10th. And so there's a lot you can take away from the season. And, of course, the women having a heck of a run in the tournament, making up a little bit for some of the early struggles. 1-4, lost 1, went 5 days. And just goes to show you that this tournament is going to be tailored for those that have a better regular season finish. Marshall was in a situation where it could have, on the men's side, got to the championship game. I don't doubt that at all. But you see where we're at right now. This tournament tailored for those that perform well in the regular season, and that's by design. That's going to help the league. At least that's what the league thinks it will, and the coaches, I'm sure, are going to discuss this later, and the presidents and the athletic directors, but that's going to help the league get its best, strongest teams into the postseason. And so your better teams are going to make the NCAA tournament. Your better teams possibly can make the NIT. And so where does that leave the Thundering Herd this year? Well, for the women, I don't see any postseason opportunity. For the men, could a CIT be in the cards for the Thundering Herd? Do you want the CIT to be in the cards for the Thundering Herd? What about the CBI? See, I don't really follow those tournaments because they're nice, they're okay, if you need to get a little extra playing time, but I don't think that that's really true in this day and age, that's as beneficial because you have players that are leaving, you have players that will enter the transfer portal, and that's not just saying Marshall, that's with all teams. You're not getting your team ready for the next season because the team that's going to be on the court might not be your team next season. Same thing with football. I know we're going through spring drills right now, and you're trying to get this team, the foundation, the basis of what this team is going to look like. That's important, and you obviously need to have off-season workouts and conditioning and just install everything. But how many players are going to decide, you know what, Marshall's not for me? Marshall's not for me after spring. And of course, that's going to be a debate we're going to have for a long time. When the transfer portal should be open, when can players leave, when can players enter into the transfer portal. But for basketball, if it's not the NCAA or the NIT, is it really worth going? And of course, that might even mean the NIT. There could be players that say, look, I'm not interested in the NIT, NCAA or nothing. And so there could be players looking for opportunities as soon as all these tournaments are over, trying to figure out what is next for me is probably going to be the attitude here. So do you think that it's even worth going to any of these tournaments now? I mean, do the players want to go? Do the fans want to see these tournaments? And of course, it has the stigma of pay to play, and I'm not a big fan of that. I was willing to give it a chance, but I'm not a big fan of it. But what do you think? You think this is a good thing? I mean, we got to see John Elmore get into postseason play and break the all-time scoring record. And that was deliberate. That was by design to give him the opportunity to do so. And then Marshall went on and won the tournament. And so Marshall has a championship trophy. Does that mean anything today? And how many home opportunities would Marshall get anyway in this tournament? 1, 2. How does it play out for the Herd faithful? Would you travel? If Marshall was in one of these pay-to-play tournaments and Marshall had to travel, would you travel with the Herd? 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255 as we kind of try to unpack what happened this weekend with basketball. But ultimately, hats off to the women. Heck of a run in the tournament for the men. Didn't end the way that a lot of us hoped it would end, but at the same time, I think Marshall could have won that game. Absolutely could have won that game. There were a lot of questionable calls. There were a lot of things that I'd like to see reviewed in the offseason as far as officiating is concerned, and I don't think that's sour grapes. I think that more people agree with me and you than disagree. Let's not take anything away from the season that Marshall had. And, of course, Coach Jackson, I think he definitely showed. I don't think he was out to prove anyone wrong, as if you heard his comments the other day. He was out to prove himself right. Hey, look, I can do this. And I think he showed he can do this. He's going to be fine as the head coach. And remember, there were a lot of people that just wanted to be done with Coach Jackson early on in the season, didn't think he was the right guy. So have you changed your mind on that? I think probably the answer is yes. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. It's going to be our text line this hour, brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. There's a lot more going on, but we'll unpack basketball for you, and we'll look ahead to some of the things that are happening this week for Marshall when we continue on this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
You've cut back on everything, and you're still coming up short at the end of the month. Give your local State Farm agent a call for a free discount double check. They'll show you how something as simple as combining car and home policies can save you hundreds of dollars a year. Being there to help keep more of your money is why your local State Farm agent is here. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
In Huntington, Jeff Smith, 304-781-1234. And in Wayne, Vicky Tabor, 304-272-5149.
At Poca Valley Bank, a handshake can still mean the start of a great relationship. We've been greeting customers with a handshake since 1908. Why settle for less? If you're purchasing your first home or planning for your future, Poca Valley Bank is here to support you with personalized service and local expertise. They are your trusted advisors. Why settle for less when you can experience banking with a team that truly cares? Poca Valley Bank, where relationships matter. Visit PocaValleyBank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey Tri-State, Frank's Place is where friends hang out with friends. Stop on by for happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. and a lot of daily specials. It's that time of year for March basketball. Frank's has you covered from the Sun Belt to the SEC, NBA to the MLB. First responders, stop by Frank's Place and check out the specials they have for you. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
Hi, I'm Nori, and over the years, my mother and I have opened our homes to those who need it most, and it's been so rewarding. I bet you didn't know that some adults who have unfortunately been mistreated need a place to call home in West Virginia. It happens more than you know. They may have some physical or mental limitations, and they need your help. Everyone deserves a place to call their own. I can tell you from my experience, it's worth it.
If you have an open heart and want to open your home, Adult Family Care may be the right fit for you. Call the Department of Human Services and ask to speak to an Adult Family Care Home Finder at 304-269-6820. Sponsored by the West Virginia Department of Human Services, the West Virginia Broadcasters Association, and this station. This project is supported by the Administration for Community Living, ACL, of the United States, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, as part of a financial assistance award totaling $1,227,345, with 100% funded by ACL HHS. The contents are those of the authors and do not necessarily represent the official views of, nor an endorsement by ACL HHS or the U.S. government.
Okay, forest animals, today is a new day. Kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow.
Yes?
Have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. Okay, River.
Dude.
How's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man. Perfect for a little riverside shoeless relaxation.
Ah, good. Owl, you here? Course. Who's asking? I am. Look, you know the drill. Sleep during the day, scare the kids at night. Perfect. I love my job. Oak Tree?
What's up?
Still in the same place I left you last year. That's what I like. Consistency.
Well, it's not like I'm going anywhere for the next couple hundred years.
I know. I love it. Turtle. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. You'd think you would have learned by now to leave the night before our meetings. Okay. Squirrel. Has anybody seen Mr. Squirrel?
The forest has been preparing just for you. Visit a forest near you today. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Welcome back. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Thanks for being a part of today's show. I know it's kind of a bittersweet show. We were hoping we'd have Marshall basketball, both women's and men's, to talk about. And, of course, the men, unfortunately, losing to Arkansas State. Arkansas State's going to be competing for the championship, taking on Troy coming up tonight. And we'll have that game for you right here. For those of you that are interested, that's coming up tonight, 6:30, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. James Madison got beat by Arkansas State earlier in the day. And speaking of the women's basketball tournament, of course, it didn't go the way we wanted for the Thundering Herd, but there is something positive to come out of today. Aislinn Hayes named to the all-tournament team. Stats were impressive. She had a good run. Of course, Marshall, here's the fun thing about this. Marshall, because of the tournament, had 5 extra games, went 4-1. I mean, that's impressive. 4-1, 5 days. Aislinn Hayes averaged almost 20 points a game in the tournament. That's a run and a half. Put on top of that, she had 3 20-point performances. So definitely she had a good tournament. And that was fun to watch. So a lot of props to the Marshall women. I think they put it together. And I'm optimistic now. If anything, I'm optimistic. I know that doesn't help how you feel today about the Thundering Herd getting eliminated from postseason. But I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that, okay, long term, that maybe the Marshall women's basketball program will find that success again. I mean, last year was a lightning bolt. And we got to really ride that lightning bolt. And this year, I know the phrase was thrown around, you've caught lightning in a bottle, for the second straight time. No, I think what you've done is you've caught a coach that can long-term develop and build a program and not be the same coach that you had Kim Caldwell, but she can be her own coach, put together a program that could really pay off years to come. Because the challenge is going to have to be for Marshall, okay, you've shown that you can compete in the tournament. You've shown that this program can put championship basketball together. Now, can you do that and be consistent? And will the crowds come back? Will the support come back? Because Huntington and Marshall fans love a winner. And if the team's winning, they'll jump on board. If Marshall's not winning, and then the support will dry up a little bit. So it's going to be important that both Marshall puts together a program that can win and that Marshall fans show up and support this team. If you want to see championship product, you have to come out and support it. That's usually how it goes. It's kind of a give and take here. For the men, I'm optimistic and confident as well. Texter just said, Coach Corney is our guy. Forget that I wanted him out of here weeks ago. Appreciate that text. How do you feel? Have you turned the page, or have you looked at what you were thinking earlier and thought, I was wrong. Maybe I jumped the gun a little bit on Coach Jackson, and maybe I was wrong and he was right. He's the guy. He's going to take Marshall to possibly a championship. Marshall came close. And I think the answer is, I think Coach Jackson will bring a championship to Marshall. And again, he's a guy that he's been around the program. He knows what Marshall basketball is about. He's going to, of course, listen. He's going to figure it out. He's got a really good basketball mind. I don't think you can question that as well. I mean, he's a good hire. And I know he's not going to say, I was trying to prove people wrong, but I think he did, by just being himself. A lot of people were proven wrong. He wasn't trying to prove them wrong, but a lot of people were proven wrong that, hey, this team was one win away from being in the top 4 of the conference. And right now, there are 4 co-champions of the regular season in this conference. Marshall could have been one of those teams. And so you were a few points away from the semifinals. You could have been in the championship game tonight. And you look at the overall complexity of that game, there's a lot of things you can point to and say that was not in favor of the Herd as far as the officiating is concerned. Now, of course, for those of you that have texted in, a couple of you have said, and I'm going to paraphrase everyone, you hit the free throws, you win the game. And I get that. I agree with that, and I appreciate those texts. We got several of those, so I'm kind of condensing your text. Yeah, if you hit the free throws, you win the game. But you lost one of your, as coach will call them, big dogs in Nate Martin. Imagine what the rebounding would have been like, because it was dead even in that game without Nate Martin. And then, of course, you've got Obina. He's protecting the rim. He's trying to put this team on his shoulders. One of the very best to do so for the Thundering Herd. And so you look at what he was able to do, and you look at what Marshall was able to do. I mean, Obina, just the fourth player in Marshall history to record 100 blocks in a season. 102. And, of course, his NCAA average went up. I think he was first now. Did I see that correctly? I think he was first in average now. He had 8 blocks in that game. He definitely could have left and went elsewhere, and you've heard him talk about he's decided to stay. And so I think we should applaud the fact that he's going to be the rare exception going forward. How many players are going to stay the duration for Marshall or any school? And so we might have seen the beginning of the end of a breed of college athlete. He loved at Marshall. If there was somewhere better, he'd be there. But he decided to stay, and it was a fun ride with him. And so here we are now. What's Marshall going to do for the foreseeable future? If you could get a few more Obinas, I think you'd be all right. Our text line, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. It's brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. From our text line we go. Texter says, Paul, with Marshall being an NIT bubble team, they need for the smaller conference regular season champ to also win their postseason tournaments, because I'm thinking there's a criteria where if the regular season champ gets beat in their postseason tournament, the NIT has to take the regular season champ. That used to be the case. I appreciate the text. I don't know if it's changed again for this season, but for last season, there wasn't that automatic bid. And so the NIT no longer obligated to take the regular season champion, which I hate. And so what they did as an organization, and looking at it now, okay, let me make sure I got the right info here, because I want to make sure you're right or we're right. Okay, so the NIT, new qualification procedures for the 2025 NIT, which includes bids going to 16 exempt teams as well as others that may qualify automatically as regular season conference champions. Exempt teams will include the top 2 teams not selected to the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship from both the Atlantic Coast Conference and Southeastern Conference. In addition, the top team not selected to the NCAA Championship from the top 12 conferences based on the Ken Pomeroy rating will receive an exempt bid to the NIT. The top teams from each conference will be determined based on the average of the team's ESPN Basketball Power Index, the KPI, the net, the Ken Pom ratings, the strength of record, the Torvik rankings, and wins above bubble rankings. Okay, so who wants to do the math for me? That's a homework project for one of you. So it used to be simple. Got the automatic bid if you won your regular season and you didn't win your conference championship. So who wants to do the math? Seriously, who wants to do the math on that one? I'm going to let one of you do it, because you guys can knock that stuff out real quick. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. And that's going to be the number to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Okay, so I'm looking for the Ken Pom ratings right now as far as the conferences. See if I can find that real quick before we hit the break. And see where the Sun Belt's at. Because that's where a lot of the hang-up is going to be. Is the Sun Belt a good enough league? Is it strong enough? If we're talking soccer or baseball, it's definitely going to be one of those top leagues. If we're talking about basketball, not so much. And, of course, that's where we get into this MAC Sunbelt Challenge. This is where we get into trying to do things to get your league in a better situation. That's where we get into all of this trying to game the numbers. And so power conferences obviously are going to lead that way. The smaller group of 5. And I'm over at team rankings right now, and let's see where the league ranks here. The Sun Belt is 18th. And that's over at team rankings. That's where the Sun Belt is. So would not meet the criteria at this moment. Right below the MAC and the Southern of all conferences. 2 previous conferences. Conference USA actually is 8th right now. And again, this is NCAA College Basketball RPI rankings and ratings. I'm over at teamrankings.com. We'll see what it looks like when the bids come out. But would you want to see Marshall accept anything below the NIT? I say no. I think the NIT is the line for me. If it's NCAA tournament, which Marshall will not get in, that's the ultimate prize. If it's the NIT, long-standing, traditional, historic conference tournaments, champions get to used to go to that thing. It had some prestige. I know Dan D'Antoni loved his time in the NIT. It used to be the tournament. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Give me the NIT. Sure, let's do it. Let's go have a good time. Let's go try to win that thing. But anything else, I'm not on board with. And I don't know if the players would be as well. What about you as the fans? What's your say in this? As, again, sometimes the fans maybe don't get a say in some of these things. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. More coming up on today's edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Get ready to paint the town green this St. Patrick's Day weekend at the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe. Feast on their famous corned beef and cabbage dinner for $16.49. Don't forget about their unbeatable deal. 2 domestic pints of beer and select St. Patrick's Day shots for $5. Available Saturday through Monday. Enjoy great company and a festive atmosphere all weekend long. Bring your crew and join the St. Patrick's Day celebration at the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe on the corner of Fun and 3rd Avenue.
Stalwart Insurance is the name for insurance in the tri-state. They are committed to delivering tailored benefit solutions with thoughtful, strategic planning with valuable professional services. Stop by or call Stalwart Insurance for your homeowner's insurance needs. Stalwart Insurance is located right beside Kenny Queen Hardware on Route 10 in Barbersville. Call Stalwart Insurance anytime at 304-552-3883. That's 304-552-3883. Or visit them online at stalwartinsurance.com.
Create the yard of your dreams with help from Menards. We carry a huge selection of garden supplies to bring your backyard oasis to life. Achieve a lush green lawn with Schultz grass seed mixtures. From sun and shade, hardy lawn, high traffic lawn, or shady lawn, Schultz grass seed is great for seeding new lawns or overseeding existing ones. Get Schultz Sun and Shade Mix now on sale. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and Clear Skin, count me in. With Skyrizi Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Follow at Paul Swann on X for Marshall sports updates and more.
Welcome back to our Monday edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. And if you would, you can find me on X. The Drive for 2,500 is on. I'm not on it hourly like some, so I'm not going to blow your feed up. But I try to post sometimes fun things, but usually mostly informative or fun stuff. So if you're on social media right now, give me a follow, if you would, please, at Paul Swann on X. And, of course, if you're on some various other social media platforms, I've got a link on my profile as well. You can find me on Blue Sky, Threads, wherever you're at. I'll try to be there as well. Our text line this hour, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Sort of a post-mortem on Marshall basketball over the weekend. Unfortunately, tonight it's going to be Arkansas State and Troy in the championship game. As a programming note, we're going to have that for you. That is a 6:30 airtime, 7 o'clock tip, right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. What could have been? Marshall coming in hot. I still think the Thundering Herd could have, would have, should have won that game. Unfortunately, just didn't go the way for Marshall. But the good news is I'm optimistic. I felt good about Coach Jackson. I felt good about how this team started to progress and got better down the stretch. I felt good about it all. And same thing with the women. I felt good about how the team performed in the tournament. I didn't think that was just a fluke. You don't play 5 straight days. You don't fluke your way into that. You could get hot and maybe disrupt the tournament a little bit, but I think Marshall showed that getting hot in the tournament was not by accident. And so I feel good about where the program's at right now. We got some other things to get into. Let's catch up today. How about the softball team? Went 6-0 at the Marshall March Madness Invitational. Now is going to take on number 24 Liberty Tuesday. That's going to be over at Dot Hicks Field. So if you've got some time and you're looking for something to do or to go support the Herd, that's going to be something to maybe get off work early for. Head over to the Dot. First pitch is set for 6 o'clock. This is going to be the 5th game of the season against a top 25 team. So the Thundering Herd's been playing a tough schedule. We'll see if Marshall can get the win. It's against Liberty, top 25 opponent, number 24, and that's going to be 6 o'clock at Dot Hicks Field. How about the baseball team? Baseball team getting a win as well. Actually got the series. So the streak now is 8 games. 7-2 victory over Bradley. So a weekend sweep of the Braves. Marshall's now 9-6. Pitching was strong. Defense was good. No errors. Central Michigan going to be the opponent on Tuesday. So you could possibly do both. You could do a little bit of a little bit of baseball, and then you could do a little bit of softball. Baseball is going to be at the Jack, 5 o'clock, and then the softball team is going to be at the Dot at 6 o'clock. So you could possibly start with baseball, then work your way over to softball. Or I don't know how you would work it out here, but maybe you can try to get both in. It's a possibility. Wouldn't it be something? Maybe in the future you could work it out where you could go in between, and I'm going to go watch a little softball. Okay, now I'm going to go watch a little baseball. You could just have a pathway to go do both. I don't know how that would work. Maybe one ticket would get you into both. So if you have a ticket for baseball, maybe you could get into softball. That would be something, that'd be fun to explore. I think that would make it more fan-friendly, to be honest with you. So you got 2 options. You got baseball, you got softball. That's coming up on Tuesday. And, of course, we'll have all of those Saturday baseball games at home right here with our Saturday showcase on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Also, swimming and diving back in the news for the Thundering Herd. Grace Kelschmeyer, she is competing today at the Zone A NCAA diving zones in New Jersey. She will compete in the 3-meter event this afternoon, and then she'll take the 1-meter event on tomorrow. And so we will hopefully have a result before we go off the air on that. Swimming and diving has been really, let's just say, I don't want to say it's a surprise program for me, because Marshall's had a history of being good in the pool. That's something, if you're a little younger, you might not know that. Marshall was really good in the pool years ago. And so it's good to see that, and it's good to see that it's really been taken seriously. And it's been fun to watch, just to see how the program has revitalized, putting a little bit more emphasis, a little bit more resources into that. And same thing with track and field. I can honestly say that I've been impressed with how the program has been able to really emphasize some of those events. And to be quite honest, it's refreshing. I mean, we're seeing more put into some of these Olympic sports. I mean, tennis is having a go of it. Lost to Old Dominion, but tennis has still been having a really good, strong go of it. And so it's nice to see some of these other sports getting a little bit more of attention and trying to build this program, not just to be about football, not just to be about basketball, but all the sports. And I think that started really, softball was leading the way for a while, tennis was leading the way for a while, but I think also now with soccer really inserting itself into the conversation, you're seeing more of a push. Well, why can't these other sports be like this? So unfortunately, it's not been that way for a long time. And it's now, I think, improved a lot more than we've seen in years past. Our text line, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. One more segment coming up. Plenty of time for you. We'll keep it open the rest of the way on the text line here on today's edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Now is the time to add on a new bathroom or remodel your old one with the latest up-to-date bathroom fixtures from Mutual Wholesalers, 710 5th Street, Huntington. Come in today to Mutual Wholesalers' beautiful showroom and see how your new bathroom will look. Check out Acre by Max. Have a new bathroom this year. Mutual Wholesalers, locally owned and operated, 710 5th Street, Huntington. Call 304-525-9118.
Metro Community Federal Credit Union now brings you all the tech that big banks have, but still has that personal touch of a member-owned community credit union. Apple Pay? Got it. Digital wallet? Yep. Message pay by text, online loan payments, even chatting with a real person, not a bot. Open accounts, sign documents, and manage your money all online. It's the big bank tech you need from the local community-minded credit union you trust. Metro Community FCU. Visit metrocommunityfcu.com today.
Hey Tri-State, Frank's Place is where friends hang out with friends. Stop on by for happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. and a lot of daily specials. It's that time of year for March basketball. Frank's has you covered from the Sun Belt to the SEC, NBA to the MLB. First responders, stop by Frank's Place and check out the specials they have for you. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
I'm Nori, and when I was young, my mom opened our home to someone who needed a secure and safe place. She taught him what it was like to have someone care about you, having dinner at home or going out to eat together.
In West Virginia, families open their homes every year to adult family care.
Some folks need a little extra help, but everybody deserves a family.
Call the Department of Human Services and ask to speak to an adult family care home finder at 304-269-6820. Sponsored by the West Virginia Department of Human Services, the West Virginia Broadcasters Association, and this station. This project is supported by the Administration for Community Living, ACL, of the United States U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, as part of a financial assistance award totaling $1,227,345, with 100% funded by ACL HHS. The contents are those of the authors and do not necessarily represent the official views of, nor an endorsement by ACL HHS or the U.S. government.
Stalwart Insurance is the name for insurance in the Tri-State. They are committed to delivering tailored benefit solutions with thoughtful, strategic planning with valuable professional services. Stop by or call Stalwart Insurance for your homeowner's insurance needs. Stalwart Insurance is located right beside Kenny Queen Hardware on Route 10 in Barbersville. Call Stalwart Insurance anytime at 304-552-3883. That's 304-552-3883. Or visit them online at stalwartinsurance.com.
Okay, forest animals, today is a new day. Kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow.
Yes?
Have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. Okay, River.
Dude.
How's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man. Perfect for a little riverside shoeless relaxation.
Ah, good. Owl, you here? Whoosh. Who's asking? I am. Look, you know the drill. Sleep during the day, scare the kids at night. Perfect. I love my job. Oak Tree?
Sup?
Still in the same place I left you last year. That's what I like. Consistency.
Well, it's not like I'm going anywhere for the next couple hundred years.
I know. I love it. Turtle. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. You'd think you would have learned by now to leave the night before our meetings. Okay. Squirrel. Has anybody seen Mr. Squirrel?
The forest has been preparing just for you. Visit a forest near you today. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
How was your day? What did you do in school? I'm Dale Lee, president of the West Virginia Education Association, and these two simple questions can encourage learning in your home. Showing interest and asking about the school day can help motivate your children and keep them excited about learning. So stay involved, stay curious, and ask specific questions. Student success involves the whole family.
A message from the West Virginia Education Association.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Miss an episode? Catch it anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Final segment for today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Let's go back to the text line. Texter says, Paul, I agree with you. NCAA or NIT tourneys only. I feel good about both men's and women's teams. Again, Coach Corney will win a championship for Marshall basketball. Now looking forward to Marshall softball and baseball. Go Herd. I appreciate that. I think Coach Jackson has a good, strong foundation. I think, to be fair, we were a little concerned about women's basketball earlier, but Coach Folks has shown that she's very adept at getting this team going at the right time. And the way this tournament structure is, if this would have been maybe a different tournament structure, maybe Marshall could have gotten hot and disrupted it a little bit more. Could Marshall have gone in a standard, normal tournament format? Could Marshall have gotten to the championship game? And I understand the desire. You want to invite all the teams to the tournament. Everyone gets a shot, right? Makes everyone happy. Everybody gets an opportunity. I don't know how many of the athletic departments really like that concept, that every team gets a shot. I mean, in the one hand, you have, well, we can get it done in tournament time. And then on the other hand, it's, okay, we know we're going to be one or done. And then you have a team like Marshall that's an 11 seed. A lot of teams maybe didn't think that Marshall was a 11 seed, maybe thought a little bit better of the Thundering Herd. Marshall went in and proved itself the past 5 days. So, not necessarily true to its seed. But if you're a 14 seed, you're a 13 seed, do you have a legitimate shot? Can you turn it on in the regular season, more so in the postseason? You get going, you get hot late. Okay, we can work our way. Maybe we can make a run here. I don't know if this tournament format is going to last. I personally like it, but you could have a situation where some athletic directors say, look, not sure that we're really a big fan of all the teams going. On the other hand, all the coaches, I'm sure, are happy that, okay, we get another chance at this. We get another opportunity to go out there and maybe make a run, maybe make a statement, put ourselves in a better position. And so there are going to be a lot of haves and have-nots always. Or some leagues can just say, okay, top 8, make it short, make it sweet, top 8. Nope. All 14 get to go. And the way this thing is structured, the better you do in the regular season, you get to reap the reward a little bit more. So I like it. Makes the regular season mean a lot more to me. And you put a lot more emphasis on, okay, every game counts. Every game counts. Every game matters. I know the coach speak is, one game at a time. We're focused on this game. But you got to start stacking wins together in the regular season and conference play. You got to stack them together. And you got to understand that you want to win the game in front of you, and that should always be the focus. But you got to be aware that these games are important. You got to stack them in front of you. I think the players will probably understand more than anything that you have to take it one day at a time, one game at a time, but you also need to realize that you better put everything into everything in front of you, because you could start at 14 or you could start at 1 or 2. What would you rather start at in this tournament? Be the 1 or 2 seed or the 13 or 14 seed? Or even the 11 seed. But to the texture's point, I'm with you. I appreciate that. I'm not a big fan. I was willing to give them a chance, but I'm not a big fan of the whole, here's another opportunity to play tournament where will the fans show up? I mean, look at the tournament itself. And a lot of this was due to distance, but there was a good group of Marshall fans that went to the tournament and spent some time. It got bigger. The crowds got bigger as we got closer to the weekend. And of course, nobody's going to be able to take off an entire week. That's the whole thing about this thing. If you want to take off and go to this tournament, you need to have a good idea when your team's going to start. And then if you want to go support Marshall, you had to be there on Tuesday to support the women if you want to support the women. Or do you even make plans knowing that, okay, Marshall might not make it to the weekend and I can't go till the weekend? And of course, then this tournament not necessarily centrally located in the conference footprint. And so how difficult does it make it for Herd fans to travel? And then we saw some of those arenas empty. Those arena screenshots. We were looking at games, and there's hardly anyone there. And there are a lot of programs that are closer to Pensacola than Marshall is, and so you didn't see that many fans. It's a neat arena. It's a unique location. Of course, you're playing a basketball game and a ice rink. A lot of basketball teams, including the NBA, play in arenas that have ice. But this was not a traditional college basketball arena. This is a ice rink that's set up with a basketball configuration. And so if you didn't see that many people travel to the conference tournament, how many people would want to travel to see their team play in one of these less than consequential tournaments? These tertiary conference tournaments. I'm sorry, these tertiary tournaments, not conference tournament, tournaments, period. Absolutely against that. I mean, with that said, if Marshall goes to one, we're all in. And that's not saying that we're going to say, no, we're not showing up for this. I don't think Marshall should go to these things. I don't know if a lot of Herd fans feel the same or are on the opposite side of me. But at the end of the day, if Marshall is invited to one of these things and Marshall says, okay, yeah, we'll do this, then we're all in. You have to be. You have to be all in. If the tournament says, okay, here's the deal, and Marshall goes, okay, this makes sense for us. We're gonna go play in this thing here, which I don't think is a good idea, but we're gonna play in this thing. And you get a home game. You got to go to that. But yeah, how many people are traveling? I mean, if Marshall doesn't have like all the way ride to the championship, I mean, how invested are you into this thing? Because if it's a long trip, are you traveling? And then the interest nationally for this thing, whatever it is, whatever one of these other tournaments will be, isn't that great to begin with. Because people are going to be paying attention to the NCAA tournament. People will pay attention a little bit to the NIT, but more so, mostly, to the NCAA tournament. How many people are filling out their NIT brackets here in a week or so? How many of you have NIT office pools? Probably none of you. If you do, I want in on that. But how many people really pay attention to these tournaments? These tournaments are very, very narrow focused. You give teams another opportunity to play, and I just don't think that that's really valuable in this day and age where the transfer portal will wipe your team out. And I'm not saying that Marshall's going to lose his entire team to the transfer portal. I'm not insinuating that at all. But at the same time, the argument used to be, hey, you can get your team better for the next year. You get some more practice opportunities because your team was coming back for the most part. You were graduating someone, but your team was coming back. And so now you don't have that. You don't have that. You have players in flux at every turn when the transfer portal opens up. And so depending on the team, the program, the players, you're either going to go out and get someone better or you're going to retain the team you have. And it's not just going to be at the Marshall level. It's going to be at all levels of college basketball. So if it's the NCAA tournament, I think there's a lot of excitement for players. That's the dream, to play in the big dance. No one's waking up going, man, I hope I get to play in the NIT. That's my dream, to go out and win the NIT. That's my dream. Now, if you're playing in it, you're going to go out and, hey, let's win this thing. We're in it. Let's just do it. I like trophies too. But the dream is get into the dance. And then the NIT is, I think, a fine, okay, we didn't get there. It's a good opportunity. We didn't get there. Let's make the most of it. But then you get into the other tournaments, and I don't know anyone that's woke up and thought, hey, one day I'm going to be the CIT champion. If you're in it to win it. But no one's trying to get in it. It's one of those where the goal is the NCAA tournament. The NIT is a fine alternative consolation prize. If the NIT is the consolation prize, and it's an opportunity for you to go, hey, you should have taken us in the NCAA tournament. We're going to go out and win this thing. And then what is the value of those other tournaments? Up for debate. Either way, Marshall's not in one. I'm going to be good with it if Marshall's in one. We're there to win it, right? That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back with you tomorrow here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930, where we are always in it to win it. Don't forget, you can find me on X. That's formerly known as Twitter, at Paul Swann. Also, you can always subscribe to our podcast. It's The Drive. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'll be back with you tomorrow here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Broadcasting from the Dave & Buster's studios. Eat, drink, play, and watch at Dave & Buster's in the Huntington Mall. ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. WRBC, W231BS Huntington.